Full of wisdom and perfect in beauty, every precious stone was your covering. You were the anointed cherub who covers. I established you. You were on the holy mountain of God. You walked back and forth in the midst of fiery stones. You were perfect in your ways from the day you were created, till iniquity was found in you.
As Lucifer began to ponder his own beauty and power, his heart gradually started to change. He allowed his focus to turn away from God, and he directed his love upon himself. How and why these seeds of rebellion germinated in his heart, we may never fully understand. But the prophet Isaiah provides this insight into Lucifer's thinking.
How you are fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning. How you are cut down to the ground, you who weaken the nations. For you have said in your heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High.
Lucifer gradually began to covet the power of God, but not his character. As he thought about his own extraordinary abilities and beauty, the cancerous tentacles of pride and self-exaltation gripped his mind. This resentment and jealousy ultimately drove him to violate God's holy law and rebel against his government. Lucifer knew if he was to ever share the power and status of God, he would need support. So he went to work. He began to deviously circulate among the other angels, planting seeds of doubt and discontent regarding God's leadership. At the same time, he would subtly highlight his own virtues. He insinuated that God was abusing his divine power, and his law was restricting the true freedom and happiness of his creatures. With his clever reasoning and unrivaled powers of influence, Lucifer managed to persuade a great number of the angels to join him in his mutiny. Perhaps you're wondering, how could so many intelligent angels be duped into following this deceiver? Well, keep in mind, up till this point, no angel had ever heard a lie. We see a titanic battle raging between the supreme righteous hero and the ultimate evil villain. The big question is, who are these primary players? And how, where, and when did this cosmic crisis begin? This is the greatest mystery of the ages, and the most amazing true story that has ever been told. This crisis now involves every person on earth. Yes, every person.
How many of you have, when you were in school, had to deal with a bully? Or knew a bully? Yeah? Was there a bully in your school? Probably your elementary school, there was a bully. Everybody's nodding their heads. Well, in my school, our bully's name was Larry, well, get this, Larry Bumpus. Can you think, I said Larry Bumpus. That was his last name. I can't think of a better name for a bully than Bumpus. Bump us. Anyway, Larry showed up at school, and he was big and mean like a typical bully. And he, sort of struck terror in all our hearts. And, he made things very uncomfortable for everybody. The bully sort of does that. The bully sort of just makes things, even if you don't have to run into him, he just makes you a little uneasy, doesn't he? He's there, and he's in the way, and he disrupts things, and he scares people, he intimidates you. And one time, Larry Bumpus, it was my turn to run into Larry Bumpus on the playground. I'm a little boy. Larry's the big bully, and he decided to pick on me one day. He came up to me at recess, and he started pushing me around, like bullies might do. And then he tried to trip me. And he grabbed me by the shoulders and tried to trip me. And I decided to plant my legs and really just try to dig in, little me. And he tripped and he pushed and he couldn't get me to fall down. And finally he fell down. I go, oh no, that's really going to get him mad. But working so hard at knocking me over, he actually knocked himself over. And we'll see that in the study of the dragon. This is sort of what the dragon, or the devil, is going to do to himself. The Lord has sort of let the devil play out his little sinister idea of how the world should be for all to see, and eventually he's going to knock himself down. He's going to end up losing this terrible battle. The Bible, it does have a bully. And sometimes you might wonder, well, why are we studying about the devil? I mean, is this important? I think it is, and especially right up at the front, to identify our foe. It's the person who has put us in the situation that we're in, isn't he the one? It's his fault that we're down here in this suffering, miserable condition we're in. And just like a good athlete will study his opponent before he goes into battle or a competition or whatever, he'll study, like maybe a tennis player or a boxer. They'll study their opponent to get to know the moves of their opponent so they can better combat this opponent. So that's sort of what we're going to be doing by studying Revelation's dragon. So if you have your lessons, we'll get right into this, starting with lesson one. Question number 1. Why is our world so full of pain, suffering, fear, and death? So that's our basic question. You know, our world really, I hate to say it, but our world stinks the way it is. I mean, with all you just look around, the suffering, the death. I heard it said that every 3.06 seconds, someone starves to death on this planet. With famines, diseases. Donna works with them and other nurses and health care. It's just unbelievable, all the diseases that are available for mankind. And the pain, the suffering, the woe. And the worst thing of all is death, isn't it? And who do you suppose introduced death? The devil introduced this to us. But why is there so much of this? Revelation 12 and verse 7 in your lesson. And you can say the blank with me. If you know the word, we'll say it out loud, and that'll help whoever doesn't have it down. But if you have your pens and can take your lessons and read in Revelation 12, verse 7, it says, "And there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels." So right off the bat, this identifies the situation we're in. We're at war. We're at war because it started with Michael, someone named Michael, and someone named the dragon. They went head to head, and now we've got a cosmic battle. Sort of like in World War II. World War II was the biggest and worst, meanest, gnarliest war this planet has ever seen. It cost this nation some $1.5 trillion back in those days, back in the 40s. That was a lot of money. And nowadays it may not be so much to our current president, right? But $1.5 trillion was a lot in the 40s. It cost about 60 million lives. Poland alone lost 17.2% of their the country's population. That's a significant reduction in population of one country. It involves 61 countries, and there's never been a bigger war on this planet than that one. But there is actually a bigger war, and that's the war mentioned in Revelation 12. And this war is a cosmic war, and it involves all of humanity, and involves all the universe. Everybody who has ever lived is involved in this war, this cosmic battle. Which brings us to question 2. Who are these two combatants? Now, we mentioned 2 names. What were they? Dragon and Michael. Okay? The 2 combatants are Michael and the dragon. Now, just by the names, can you guess which one the bad guy is? Oh, that's a pretty easy one, huh? The dragon. He's the bad guy. Just like World War II had a villain. Do you know who the villain of World War II was? Adolf Hitler. If you had to pinpoint a villain, it would be Adolf Hitler. So this war has a villain. And in Daniel 12, in verse 1, we'll identify Michael. Right off the bat, Michael, it says, the great prince. Now, the great prince is usually the good guy, isn't he? Okay, Michael, the great prince, which stands for the children of thy people. Now, the name Michael, sometimes it confuses certain Christians